How's it going, guys? Great Disciple back with another video, and we have a subscriber question, and this is a good one. I like this one. It comes from Todi and Sakura. Hope I said that right. I don't know, man. I don't even know how you came up with that name, but here we go. He asks, what is the best advice you have ever been given, and would you give it to your children? Well, the second one, very quickly, is if it was the best advice I ever received in my life, of course I would give it to my kids. All right, what I'm going to do is I'm going to read you something. And it is a passage that I read as a little boy in a book that my father gave me a long, long time ago. And it's a book that I have read front to back over and over and over. It's a book written by a guy named Dale Carnegie. Some of you may have heard of this book. Some of you haven't. I suggest to everybody, if you want to be successful in life, this book will help you probably more than anything outside the Bible, in my opinion. The book is called How to Win Friends and Influence People. And the very first lesson of the book is this: do not criticize, condemn, or complain. So, if it'd be okay with you, I'm going to read you a little story, and then we'll leave it at that. Here's how it goes. In this story was written, I believe, for Reader's Digest. It's called Father Forgets. It says this: listen, son, I am saying this as you lie asleep, one little paw crumpled under your cheek, and the blonde curls thickly wet on your damp forehead. I have stolen into your room alone. Just a few minutes ago, as I sat reading my paper in the library, a stifling wave of remorse swept over me. Guiltily, I came to your bedside. There are the things I was thinking, son. I had been cross to you. I scolded you as you were dressing for school because you gave your face merely a dab with a towel. I took you to task for not cleaning your shoes. I called out angrily when you threw some of your things on the floor. At breakfast, I found fault too. You spilled things, you gulped down your food, you put your elbows on the table, you spread butter too thick on your bread, and as you started off to play and I made for my train, you turned and waved a hand and called, "Goodbye, Daddy," and I frowned and said in reply, "Hold your shoulders back." Then it began all over again in the late afternoon. As I came up the road, I spied you, down on your knees playing marbles. There were holes in your stockings. I humiliated you before your boyfriends by marching you ahead of me to the house. Stockings were expensive, and if you had to buy them, you would be more careful. Imagine that, son, from a father. Do you remember later when I was reading in the library how you came in timidly with a sort of hurt look in your eyes? When I glanced up over my paper, impatient at the interruption, you hesitated at the door. "What is it you want?" I snapped. You said nothing, but ran across in one tempestuous plunge and threw your arms around my neck and kissed me, and your small arms tightened with an affection that God had set blooming in your heart, and which even neglect could not wither. And then you were gone, pattering up the stairs. Well, son, it was shortly afterwards that my paper slipped from my hands and a terrible, sickening fear came over me. What has habit been doing to me? The habit of finding fault, of reprimanding, this was my reward to you for being a boy? It was not that I did not love you, it was that I expected too much of youth. I was measuring you by the yardstick of my own years. And there was so much that was good and fine and true in your character. The little heart of you was as big as the dawn itself over the wide hills. This was shown by your spontaneous impulse to rush in and kiss me goodnight. Nothing else matters tonight, son. I have come to your bedside in the darkness, and I have knelt there ashamed. It is a feeble atonement. I know you would not understand these things if I told them to you during your waking hours. But tomorrow, I will be a real daddy. I will chum with you and suffer when you suffer and laugh when you laugh. I will bite my tongue when impatient words come. I will keep saying as if it were a ritual, he is nothing but a boy, a little boy. I am afraid I have visualized you as a man, yet as I see you now, son, crumpled and weary in your cot, I see that you are still a baby. Yesterday you were in your mother's arms, your head on your shoulder. I have asked too much, too much. See, instead of condemning people, you guys, we should try to understand them. Try to figure out why they do what they do. There's a lot more profit in understanding that than criticizing somebody. And there's a guy named Dr. Johnson. He said, God himself does not propose to judge man until the end of his days. Why should you and I? Such a great lesson with dealing with people is to always remember in the back of your head, do not criticize, condemn, or complain. I hope you guys like that. That is easily one of my favorite stories. It's a real quick one, and I think it just puts it all into perspective for us, how harsh we can be towards one another when it's unnecessary. And the sooner that you guys can learn to understand that there are multiple viewpoints to every single situation and stop rushing to anger, I think the better off you'll be. So to answer your question, Toady, this is the best piece of advice that I've ever been given in my life. There's a couple more, and this by far I will share with my children. I hope you guys like it. If you did, hit the thumbs up button. As always, comment down below. We'll talk about it, and subscribe for more. We'll talk to you soon.
All locations secured. Hold your position.